Hello, dear colleagues and friends in São Paulo. Happy 20th birthday to the Center for Metropolitan Studies. I'm Claire Collum. I'm a professor of urban studies at University College London, the Bartlett School of Planning, and originally from France. My first contact with researchers from SEM was through Eduardo Marques, through our involvement and in collaboration in the RC21 network, a scientific association promoting the development of urban and regional studies within the International Sociological Association, the ISA. I've been actively involved in RC21 since 2010, and Eduardo was the president of RC21 between 2014 and 18. He was a leading force who helped drive the expansion of the association beyond its initial European core, in particular in South America. Through him, in 2009, SEM actually hosted the very first edition of the PhD Summer-Winter School in Comparative Urban Studies, jointly organized ever since, every 2 years, by RC21 in collaboration with the International Journal of Urban and Regional Research and its foundation. Over the years, indeed, many young scholars and researchers from SEM have engaged in the activities of RC21, convening sessions or presenting papers at our annual conferences. And several master's and PhD students associated with SEM were selected to participate in one of the PhD summer schools. Thelma Heuler and Carolina Requena in Leeds, London 2017, and Marcos Campos in Delhi in 2019. My actual first visit to USP, to SEM, to São Paulo, and to Brazil more generally took place in April 2016 with colleagues from UCL, from Sciences Po Paris, from Milano Bicocca, and the Colegio de México, in the framework of a workshop organized by Eduardo Marques and Patrick Le Gallès as part of the What is Governed in the Big Metropolis collaborative network. During those intense days, researchers and students from the 5 institutions presented and discussed their work. And it is on that occasion that I got to meet many members of SEM and become familiar with the empirical depth and the conceptual richness of the work they do. Besides an intellectually enriching workshop, I have vivid memories of our walks and drives through São Paulo, kindly organized by members of the team who guided us through this complex, contradictory metropolis and its stark inequalities, which are quite brutal for an unfamiliar European visitor. Thanks to the mediation of Eduardo, I was invited to return to São Paulo in May 2019 by João Whitaker and Ana Estela Haddad, who co-organized a series of workshops on cities for all and for everyone, building sustainable and democratic metropolises. These workshops were organized by the Escola da Metrópole of the Institute of Advanced Studies of USP with support from SEM, and allowed for a thorough discussion of the achievements and legacy of the previous government of the city of São Paulo. My lecture contributed to bring a European comparative perspective about the potential of progressive mayors, drawing on research from London and Barcelona. And on that occasion, I had the chance to meet other researchers from USP interested in cities and public policies, in particular from the Faculty of Architecture and Urbanism and from Public Health. I was again very generously welcomed, hosted, and guided by colleagues from USP during those few days. And my most vivid memory of this trip is illustrated by a picture I would like to share with you. Eduardo, who was in Berkeley then, and I had planned to hold an informal seminar with the PhD students affiliated with SEM to discuss their work, but also the introduction of the book on urban policy change in São Paulo that Eduardo and others were working on. That happened to coincide with a day of national strike to protest against cuts in federal funding to public education in Brazil on the 15th of May of that year. In order to support the strike and not to break the picket line on campus, we did have the seminar informally in one of the students' home, and then we marched together to the demonstration, which was reported to gather more than 1 million people across the country. The atmosphere was defiant but very festive, as you can see on this photo, and we ended up this memorable day with numerous beers and a long talk about Brazilian and European politics and music and literature. Since those first encounters, I had the chance to meet several colleagues and friends from SEM again during some of their extended visits to London or Paris or RC21 conferences, Eduardo, Thelma Heuler, Gabriel Feltran, Bettina Saru, Ursula Perez, among others. Over the past years, my research interests have moved closer to political science, to urban governance, public policy, and their articulation with social movements. My previous work focused very much on Europe, but I'm very slowly trying to develop a comparative agenda that would include cities of South America and India. And in that context, therefore, the work of many former and current researchers at SEM is a huge source of inspiration, in particular for its conceptual and methodological rigor. For example, the great collective book on the politics of incremental progressivism, edited by Eduardo Marques, recently published by the IGER Studies in Urban and Social Change series, with many contributions from SEM researchers. The COVID-19 pandemic has prevented us from meeting again over the past 18 months, and I have followed with profound sadness, anger, worry, and solidarity the deep sufferings of the Brazilian people during the pandemic. Once the situation improves, when we can travel again, I really look forward to a longer visit to SEM and to São Paulo to develop more comparative work with Brazilian colleagues and to see you all again. Parabéns, félicitations, and keep going.